Okay, well, you are on a thin ice, mister. Sorry, Wi-Fi. Try to catch this. Well, what about this?
Oh no. Her Wi-Fi.
I'm so sorry. I didn't... Well, good luck with cleaning that. I have to dress up for the dinner.
Dokonale zvedl náladu, na trhám ti sedmi krásy, tebe celou příjmy vlásky, zamknu si na 7 závadů.
Do you want to keep it real, this chat? Like a real, proper documentary? Or do you prefer to act out some sort of emotion that captures this atmosphere?
I think we'll keep it real.
I agree.
Authentic. Very quintessential Britain. Ooh, come back. Not as dramatic as it was in your head. Beautiful.
Got it.
Humanity.
True spirituality in here.
Blowing your nose is true spirituality.
So symbolic. It makes me throw up.
Is that what you are, a hobbit?
Yeah.
A Czech Republic hobbit.
Yes. I just have small feet.
Hey, that was nice. That was like a superpower.
Could you walk behind me at the camera above my head to see the reflection of the
Puddle?
puddle?
What do they call it in Czech?
Oh.
Do they not have puddles where you're from? The irrigation system is too good.
I couldn't remember how you say some words. Can you do that shot or is it too long?
I can try it.
I'm
ty jsi mi volala, dneska jsme jeli s kamarády do Brightonu na pláž. Je to i Houston. Škoda, že musím jít už v sobotu domů. Myslím, že to mezi náma vypadá nadějně, ale zatím jsme neměli čas na to.
Debbie, oni ten autobus zrušili a vláda rozhodla, že zítra o půlnoci zavřou hranice České republiky. Potřebuju, aby si teď koupila letenku a zítra sedla na letadlo a přiletěla domů.
Here's some travel advice for you, Rob.
Look out for coronas. Watch out. Some kung pao chicken? Watch out for them.
Yes, the kung pao chicken.
Pound chicken.
Anything else, Debbie? Oh.
We're dating.
We just found this out.
Dear Houston, I am struggling to find real words to tell you in a world that feels so unreal. Leaving you and everyone I deeply loved day to day behind definitely felt unreal. I landed just a few hours before they closed our planet. When I returned, there were people wearing strange masks, locked in their houses. I didn't recognize the place I knew so well. I felt like Alice in Wonderland, falling into the rabbit hole.
Dear Debbie, things on my planet feel like they're in a constant state of off and on. The freedom and limitation of quarantine opens up a whole new galaxy of ways to spend my free time. And many new ways to waste it, too. I'm either doing everything or doing nothing. You know me. As soon as I have all the time I need, I feel like I'm gonna run out.
Here, it is day by day. In the morning, I eat my toast with butter and the Marmite that you contempt. Then I flip through some poetry and psalms. They comfort my soul. I play with my little brother in the morning after watching Shaun the Sheep, or sew masks with my dad for us and other people too. I also try to do stuff, like take photos at this strange time, so I can show something to my children one day. Other times, me and my mom watch cooking shows or look through old albums. I also try to read piles of books in the orchard, but you know me. It usually ends up with me dancing or climbing a tree. During sunset, I run on our property road back and forth because I can't leave. Meanwhile, washing dishes after dinner, I sing. Sometimes in the evening, we watch funny videos on YouTube with my brother, laugh at memes, and drink some wine.
Since we've parted, I've been trying my best to feel the richness of the world even when I'm shut indoors. Every morning, I wake up at 5 a.m. and lay in bed teaching myself more words from your language, which is why you might hear me call you Madraha when I see you next. I've been reading a chapter of Little Women each day, attempting to write my terrible nature poetry, making a photo album of our trip, taking weird artsy pictures of headphones and boiling water, and listening to classical music like Chopin and Tchaikovsky over breakfast. Maybe I'm just compensating for all the creativity I'm missing while we're apart. Still, when I have my tea and blueberries and toast in the morning, I think of you.
Yesterday, I was sad because I missed you a lot. So I sat in our garden, I listened to Bach, drank my salty coffee, and gazed into the cherry bush for an hour. After some time, I stopped seeing the empty roads and streets. I just inhaled the sweetness of spring and observed the flying and buzzing bees. And I thought that you can lock people in the cells of 4 walls, you can lock bees in their beehives, but you can't lock the cherry blossoms from their rise.
I go for walks in the woods with my dad sometimes. There are so many people out in the forest these days. I guess it took a global pandemic for everyone to realize they need the fresh air. It's funny, we all thought we wanted to live in a digital world, but now that it's our only option, we can't stand it. It's like our mom found our stash of cigarettes and made us smoke the whole package at once. Too much exposure will make us realize we despise it. I guess that's good sometimes. Forests aren't so different wherever you go. Trees are trees, green is green, water is water. Sometimes I imagine these woods are really just the woods on your planet, and that you're walking beside me too.
At our shelter in the fall, I planted over 100 tulips in my friend's garden. She told me she made it to give me hope. So I knew I planted something there, and I would see it growing in the spring. Before I left in March, there were just a few fragile stalks. But I had to return to my planet before I saw their blossoms. I don't know if I will come back this summer to see them grow, but it's okay. I have hope that they are blossoming even though I can't see it. Before I go to bed every night, I look up through the skylight and think of your planet. It was a full moon yesterday and I couldn't sleep. I was praying too. I don't know when I will see you again, but it's okay. I have hope for us and all the tulips and people, because there is some greater power in this universe that hovers over us.
Springtime is here and I don't know how to feel. Humans perish and nature prospers. I pass pink clouds of cherry blossoms and realize how insignificant we are. I see smallness through sunrise, fragility through flowers, benediction through bumblebees. It's a humbling reminder that no matter how much humans suffer, the world still turns uncaring. But can springtime truly be uncaring? I don't think so. Is this comfort or callous? Death or growth?
Maybe it's grandeur. Maybe it's both. We will blossom through this curse and build a shelter in our words.
Till we meet again, Matraha. I'll see you in our Zoom room. With love, Houston.
Debbie.
Vyhlášený stav nouze. Zavřené obchody i hranice. Omezené možnosti pohybu.
No a dnešek byl, jak už jsem říkal, prvním dnem, kdy lidé nesmějí opouštět bydliště bez zakrytého nosu a úst.
Že letos prožíváme jiné Velikonoce. Podle premiéra bude velmi klíčovým projektem takzvaná chytrá karanténa a testování. A prosil obyvatele České republiky, aby nepolevovali v dodržování těch klíčových pravidel, aby nosili roušky, nezdružovali se a nejlépe tyto svátky strávili doma.
Dear Debbie, sometimes I forget that we're apart. Sometimes I forget that your planet is light years away. All things considered, these many weeks with you have been some of the best weeks of my life, even if they weren't with you. Many times I've seen you on my iPad and felt as close to you as if you were sitting right across from me. Maybe it's because our relationship was built on more than just touch. Most mornings, I'm overjoyed just to see your face on my screen and hear your voice reading poetry and laughing at your little brother. But there's a moment at the end of every day where my phone is plugged in, you've already been asleep for hours, and all I want to do is put my arms around you and hold you tight. It's an intangible desire with nothing to grasp but empty air. That's the moment I have to remember this is not the end of the story.
Dear Houston, there are days I don't want to get out of my bed because it feels like part of my soul went for a trip. Life on my planet is getting better, but there are weeks where all the days become a strange and a painful blur. And these days, I don't want to call you or even talk to you. Sometimes, through our connection, my awareness of separation grows and spreads. Looking at your face during FaceTime, when my Wi-Fi is poor and I see how badly the screen reflects colors and shapes of your eyes. Somehow, it's unbearable. But I call you anyway. Last time we wrote each other, the seasons were turning to spring.
Now it's nearly summer, and I haven't felt your hand in mine in 73 days and counting. There are days for me too, where the uncertainty of when we'll see each other, when our planets will be open again, when I'll look you in the eyes and see more than just pixels, it drives me crazy. It doesn't really help that my sister and her boyfriend are throwing water balloons in the yard, hugging each other like there's no tomorrow. You told me a month ago that we would blossom through this curse, and I think we are. I'd be lying if I said that life doesn't go on without you. Despite everything happening, things have actually been good here. But blossoming without each other makes life feel fragmented. I want to take every small delight, every minor annoyance, every moment of quiet contemplation, and live it all with you.
I spoke with my grandparents recently and shared the pain of missing you. They were telling me about how they wrote letters to each other while being separated during dating for a long time. All they had were words on a paper. A thin string, but it was strong. It has lasted now for decades. Even though we have technology that it never did, it seems like words are still the core. It seems like touching each other with words, the only touch we have, can test us and build something solid. That in the absence of the other, our knowing of each other is growing. Our art of listening is growing. Our desire and relationship just seem more solid.
I really don't want to waste my I love yous and my you look beautifuls, but it's so hard not to say them over and over when they're the closest thing I can manage to giving you a hug. These experiences we've had together, even over FaceTime, have been so momentously meaningful and so profoundly present that I sometimes feel overwhelmed with desire to affirm them somehow, to show you how much they mean, how much my life feels better with you in it. All I have, even now, are my words. It doesn't feel like enough, but at least it's tangible. There's a moment every afternoon where we blow kisses, I say goodnight to you, and then one of us hits the red button and disappears, instantaneously absent. And that's the moment where the silence feels like poison. That's the split second where the 4,987 miles of land and ocean and maybe stars and planets between us suddenly stretches for eternity.
Sometimes I don't want to call you, but I do it anyway. When we gather, it's not perfect, but it's still real. The pain reminds me how much we long to be connected and live in relationship, and how much I long for our reunion.
I remind myself that this is not the end of our story.
This is not the end of our story.
With love.
Debbie.
Houston.
Good evening, I'm Ian Hannamansing. Tonight, an extraordinary moment in America. Protests, police, and the pandemic. Rage from New York to Los Angeles. George Floyd! We're on the ground at the center of the protests over George Floyd's death. The response, the calls for leadership, the demands for change.
Y'all come up with a better way.
President Trump called on governors to deploy the National Guard, threatening to dispatch active duty U.S. military to American states if they don't crack down.
A social crisis in the middle of a health crisis and an economic crisis. What will it take to restore peace? What will it take to bring meaningful change? Extensive coverage from both sides of the border tonight. This is The National.
Na tvé malinké planetě, můj malý princi, stačilo posunout šikly o několik kroků. A dívá se na soumrak, nikoliv se tě sachtěrou. Poté se řekl, jednou jsem viděl slunce zapadat. Zdeš je asi 10krát. Když je člověku smutno, má rád západy slunce. Tady ten, ty jsi viděl západ. Slyšel jsi několikrát. Zeptal jsem se. Proč je tolik smutno? Ale malý princ neodpověděl.
Dear Debbie, when last I wrote to you, the air was just turning to summer. I remember the hopeful optimism we had all those months ago, that we'd see each other by the time summer was over. But now the heat has nearly come and gone, and things on my planet have stayed much the same. Still, though, the fact that we've made it this far means we're one season closer to being together. And as weird as it is, this summer with you, without you, has been one of the best summers of my life.
Dear Houston, on my planet, it's nearly autumn, and life for everyone, including me, has shifted a lot. Because of the harsh shutdown, people in Czech Republic were able to regather sooner than others. And I finally seen our joy in community emerge again. These days, there is less fear in the eyes of the people I pass on the street, even if there remains much uncertainty.
Quarantine is over here too, but masks are all around. At least they should be. For better or worse, I've found myself becoming increasingly judgmental of those without them. Partly because I want to keep my grandma safe, and partly because the longer my planet pretends there's no problem, the longer it'll be until I see you. Now that the world has pressed play again, I'm back to work. But luckily it's just with my dad, so things aren't too risky.
Get back to work!
Meanwhile, I started to work as a barista in a coffee shop in our town. My grandpa always says, work is what matters to me. It's like an engine in life that helps us to flourish, not just materially, but as full human beings. And it feels good to learn new skill. It's true. Freedom in creativity and form in schedules help to drive me forward and learn this new skill. And I can't wait to prepare you a good cup of coffee when you come.
You know I don't drink coffee, right?
Well, you better learn, mister, because by the time you arrive, I might be a master in latte art.
It's been a strange summer, but my family still got to visit our favorite place for a few short days. My family has been coming to Wrightsville Beach since long before I was born. I know this little town like the back of my hand, and ever since I was a kid, I always dreamed about coming back with the girl that I loved and showing her the things that meant the most to me. This is the Causeway Cafe bike. My sister and I have been taking photos every year on this bike since she was born. Now it's old and rusty, and now it sits outside the town museum, but we keep going back. Someday I'll go back and take photos with you. This is my Aunt Sarah Ann's house. She's passed away now, and her home is old and musty and dated. The frayed shag carpet where I used to curl up and fall asleep. The old wood-paneled walls. The chairs at the breakfast bar that squeak. The statues of old sailors and pelicans. The frog where we would hide the spare key. When I was a kid, this was one of my favorite places in the world. I think it probably still is. If I was going to take you anywhere, though, I'd take you outside to the dock by the marsh. I've said many prayers on this dock. I've tried and failed to cast many nets and fishing lines. I've finished many Harry Potter books and Hunger Games, too. Now I just stand here, having many thoughts of you.
There is a place near Třeboň where we go with other families from our church every year. It's a blooming and quiet sanctuary where one can rest their mind, soul, and body. In the morning, we have a program for kids, and every evening we gather by the fireplace to share our food and experiences from the past year. It's always good to know that whatever happens in the passing seasons, you'll always have June to meet by the fire and talk about it. Last year, we were on a mission with kids in canoes to discover America,
one of the local islands. I'm still searching for it, I think. This pier is my favorite place. I've read many books here and prayed while stargazing at night. 1 year ago, I sat here wondering what would happen to me next because my life was so broken. This year, I read less books, played less games, and even thought about myself less. I'm sure you know the reason.
It's me, isn't it?
Yeah. Although vacation by the lake is always the highlight of our year, the place where I would take you first is Zuzlin. When my mom was a little girl, she was coming here in nursery, holding the hand of some random kid. When she got older, she was visiting this place, holding hands with my father while pushing a stroller. Every time when my aunt and uncle came from Prague when I was little, our whole family would come here. When I was a kid, this was my biggest place of wonder. Before leaving, always taking pictures by the big gorilla statue and pondering how long it will take till I will be taller than her. These days, we still go there, especially because of my little brother. One day, I will visit this place and hold hands with you.
The last time you and I saw each other, we were on a beach.
I remember, last time we stood by the water, it brought us together. Now it separates us.
Last month, I was at the ocean's edge again for the first time since being there with you. And all I could think about was that sunset over the water when we both decided we wanted to be together, now 185 days ago. For so long, all I wanted was to time travel back to that spring before the world went crazy. But now, rather than go back to where we were, I think I just wish we could be together where we are today. We met on a planet neither of us call home, a planet between our planets, where everything was new and all the familiar was far away. You've never seen the places I see every day, the places I go every year, the places I hold dear to my heart.
And you've never seen the places dear to mine. But someday, I know we'll share a place together. It won't be mine, and it won't be yours. It will be just ours.
For now, I'm glad we share each other, and we'll always share the same sun.
For now, I'm grateful that together our eyes see 2 sunsets in one day.
With love, Houston.
Debbie.
Mami, neviděla jsi srtěnku? Moji?
Ne.
Jo, tady je.
Dívala ses na mapu?
Ne.
Už jenom pseti napředu zůstávají zelené na Moravě.
Už je to tady. Co si myslíš ty, tati? Má smysl jít zítra do školy?
Ne. Už ne. Takže ani jeden z nás.
To tvrdíš, že je ti zle.
Je.
Tvoje škola otevřená bude, ale...
Do pátku.
Moje taky bude otevřená.
No otázka, jestli vyhlásí nouzový stav a zavřou střední školy, tak nemusí být otevřená,
Nemusí.
protože já
Ale
tam
to
dojedu
se
v úterý
rozhodneš
a ve středu mi zavřou školu.
To se rozhodneš během zítřka, takže zítra by asi... To no, ano, že by od středy byla zavřena.
No, takže nemá smysl tam být.
Normální situaci, kdy byl nějaký to se rozhodne až za 2, za 3 týdny, to ještě času, a teďka při pandemii. To se rozhodne až zítra, to ještě času.
Přesně.
České republiky bude kontrolovat dodržování těchto opatření, ale znovu říkám, základem toho nemůže být represe. Bez dobrovolného podřízení se těm nařízením to nezvládneme a já tímto ještě jednou tedy prosím všechny občany, aby ty nařízení respektovali.
Vážení spoluobčania, vedecké poznanie prináša nové druhy testov, ktoré prinesú výsledok do pár minút.
finalizujú sa prípravy vakcín a liečby. Dôverujem tomu, že o niekoľko mesiacov budeme mať vďaka vedeckému poznaniu a objavom vírus pod kontrolou. A COVID-19 bude zvláštnou kapitolou, ktorá sa bude spájať takmer výlučne s rokom 2020. Vydržme preto, aby sme tento čas prečkali s čo najmenšími stratami na životoch, ekonomike, ale aj na našich vzťahoch. Verím v našu silu, odvahu a zodpovednosť. Zvládneme to.
Sometimes I feel like I'm in love with a movie character. How could it be any different since the only place she ever exists is on my screen? The world around me this autumn has been so real, so vivid, so tangible, so warm. The smell of cider, the feeling of the sun on my back as I hike through the woods, the sight of a mountain with my friends, and the sound of kids on Halloween. And then I call you, and I know the love I feel for you is still real. It should feel more real than real. But as the days drag on, it all slips into the abstract, the invisible. It's not real like the things I see around me. Some days it's hard to even imagine you in your fullness, sitting here next to me the way we used to be. The notion that you are a physical human being existing on the same big rock as myself seems impossible to believe. It's like every day, as the weather outside gets colder and colder, our planets only feel further and further away.
Dear Houston, once in our coffee shop, there came a guy in a black hoodie who smelled of wood. I passed him my bad coffee and we talked. It was one of these moments when you see the eyes of the other and he sees you, and the conversation just flows with the melody of Louis Armstrong in the background. We kept talking and he kept drinking my bad coffee for hours, and when we weren't talking, he kept glancing at me. When he was finally leaving, to my surprise, an idea passed my mind. How easy would it be to date him, though I really even didn't like him that much. The main reason was that I knew he lived in the same city. The idea scared me, so I struck it down. Later, he started to follow me on Instagram and I was about to follow him back. But somehow I saw the error of things. Instead, I put my phone down and asked my good friend for advice. I know this is hard, my friend said, and it is your choice, but I would throw myself in a dark hole and throw away the key, even for a year, if I knew that on the other side someone was waiting for me. Not just someone I fancy, but someone who will be there for me when I'm old and we will be still laughing and wiping off our asses. I did not follow the guy. I accepted the dark hole and threw away the key with hope in my heart. Since then, another year has passed. I don't know what to say in the moments like this. When life takes longer than we thought. And hope is just getting smaller. I was trying to express that because of the director voice, I have like a moments where I doubt our relationship. Because what if I said yes just because this could be an interesting story? So I'm trying to think, what are the things that are real and tangible right now? Like, especially when you just don't have anything, any date, anything you can just reach out, look toward to. Like,
Yeah. It's a strange situation. One nobody is really in. Even almost all long-distance couples have a date that they know they're going to see each other again. But not us. Not us.
When I feel doubt, sometimes I listen to a poem by Charles Bukowski. There are lines saying, "Your life is your life. Don't let it be clapped into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness." Later he says, "You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes, and the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be." I didn't know what could beat the darkness now, after more than a year of separation. But then I found the first letters we wrote to each other from the first week we were apart, and I read my letter again to remind myself of who I'm waiting for.
Okay, it's like kind of like it's more like characteristic of you. So it's like it starts like "Dear Houston," but then it goes description of like him.
Yeah.
Houston.
There is a sense of dignity in him. He is like the most handsome guy I ever met. He has the sharp outlines, pale skin, the cutest smile I've ever seen, and eyes like the ocean. He is a man of passion and wisdom. He is basically like Sherlock Holmes from the BBC. I never told him, but I had a crush on him from the first moment I met him. But I threw the idea into trash because he was too good for me, too perfect. Houston is on the mission. Beauty and wonder and knowledge drives him. He is on his journey, and it seems like it's a higher calling to expand the heavens and wonder and goodness in this world. I always wanted magic, but now I don't. His gifts are words and images. He has a special power to breathe life into words. Whenever it means to create something unspoken through the lens like film, or breathe life into someone. He's not scared of silence, and for his age, he is a remarkably mature human being. He says what he thinks, and he knows what he means. There are moments when passion spills on his face. He raises his voice, and his eyes are shimmering like the eyes of a little boy that films videos with his sister and parents when he was little. Boy with sparks in his eyes. Sparks I have never seen before. There are little patterns of tears in his eyes too, and it seems like he's crying. I believe he is, because with great wisdom and knowledge comes great responsibility. He is always on time, not like me. He's always prepared for the higher calling. Maybe he doesn't know about it, but he's one of the greatest adventurers I ever met in my life. I think he was born for adventure, though the meaning of life he found. I think he is still in the process of finding it and filling empty places with his creativity. Even when storms are around, he stays calm. He wears blue a lot because he's very free in person. I found him the most empathetic, trustworthy, wise, talented, and caring person. I always wanted magic. Now I found kindness, true human kindness, and it is better than magic.
Lots of people look unflattering on video calls, and lots of people feel too formal or too professional, but not Debbie. Debbie is just as spontaneous and spirited and beautiful on the phone as she is in real life. Sometimes I look at her face, her lips, her eyes, her hair, her tattoos, and I wish we could be hugging or holding each other in real life. It's more than just looks, though. Even on video calls, even without the touch and physicality, I'm grateful that I feel just as connected to Debbie as ever before. That's because our relationship runs deeper than that. Debbie is an ideas person, and that's what I love about her. I've always been something more of a synthesizer and articulator, not someone who usually comes up with things by myself. But Debbie comes up with things herself all the time. Sometimes we'd be talking and she would suddenly get a piece of spontaneous imagery in her head, a picture she wants to film, a phrase she loves to repeat, an idea she wants to explore. That's why I think we make such a good team. Debbie has so many abstract thoughts, so many wonderful images, so many delightful dreams. Together, we're able to actually accomplish them. Debbie is the girl I dreamed about when I was young, when I first knew I wanted to spend my life with someone. Granted, I never knew or expected that the person might come from another country, or that we'd meet at L'Abri, or that a pandemic would divide us, or any of the other things that really happened. But I always knew the girl I loved would be passionately creative, and that she would be deep and rich and thoughtful in her faith. That she'd really see and appreciate other people. That she would be willing to ask questions, and that she would want to take us both on a great adventure. Debbie is all the things I always dreamed about, and even more I didn't even know. Neither of us are perfect. We're both still evolving, and so many questions still tumble every day. But the adventure with Debbie is the only adventure I want to take.
That's it. The end of story.
End of story.
Or the beginning. I don't know.